The first thing I heard was the crack, sharp, sickening, intimate, like bone snapping under pressure. For a moment I genuinely thought something inside me had broken. My hand froze on the doorframe, breath caught in my throat, as I stared through the half-open bedroom door at the scene I wasn't meant to witness. Her voice, soft, trembling, familiar in ways that once belonged only to me, whispered, "Don't stop, he might hear the door." Me. I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. The room tilted, colors draining, my body caught in that surreal space between dream and waking nightmare. My heart slammed so hard it rattled in my ribs, a violent drumbeat against the truth unfolding 2 feet away. That moment, those 7 seconds, would become the ghost that followed me everywhere. But when she finally glanced toward the door, her eyes widening in dreadful recognition, the sound she made wasn't guilt. It was fear. Fear that her truth had finally been caught. That was 3 hours before I arrived at my grandparents' house in a taxi. 3 hours before Grandpa stepped onto the porch, eyebrows raised, confusion etched deep into the lines of his face, and asked in that painfully sincere voice, "Why did you come by taxi? What happened to the BMW we gave you?" I remember staring at him, my mouth opening and closing uselessly, because how could I explain that the car wasn't the problem at all? The car was exactly where I left it, parked outside the house I no longer recognized, in front of a bedroom window behind which my relationship had just died. The betrayal didn't start today. It started ages ago, quietly, subtly, like a splinter working its way deeper beneath the skin until it touched bone. But today was the day it finally cut deep enough to bleed. I forced a smile that didn't belong on my face. "It's being serviced," I lied, the words tasting metallic and false. "Thought it'd be easier to just grab a taxi instead of waiting." Grandpa nodded slowly, but his eyes lingered on me a moment too long, reading the cracks forming beneath the surface. He always did see through me better than anyone else. I brushed past him, pretending I didn't notice. Inside, the house smelled like old wood polish and cardamom tea, safe, warm, familiar in a way that almost made my knees buckle. My grandmother hummed in the kitchen, unaware that my world had collapsed before breakfast. I could still hear her voice. "My girlfriends," the breathless, trembling tone she used when she thought I wasn't there. I told Grandpa I needed air. I stepped back outside, letting the November chill slap me awake. I leaned on the porch railing and stared at nothing, replaying the moment until my vision blurred. It wasn't just what I saw. It was everything leading up to it. The late replies. The sudden extra showers. The phone flipping face down every time I walked in. The forced "I love yous" that sounded like lines from a script she no longer believed in. I had noticed. I had felt it. But denial is a soft, warm blanket. The truth is a blade. I closed my eyes and inhaled deeply, but the air felt thin, barely enough to keep me from drowning. Footsteps creaked behind me. "You okay?" Grandpa asked. His voice was gentle, careful, as if he already feared the answer. I opened my mouth, wanting to say yes, tell him it was nothing, lie my way into the version of myself I was 2 weeks ago, but all that came out was a strained, "Not really." He didn't speak. He simply waited, hands clasped behind his back, his silence patient and strong. Something inside me trembled. He was offering the space to fall apart but not forcing it on me. "I saw something," I whispered. "What kind of something?" I pressed my palms against the cool wooden railing. My throat tightened. "The kind you don't come back from." He inhaled slowly, jaw tightening. In that moment I knew he understood. Maybe not the details, but enough. He stepped closer but didn't touch me. Another small grace. Touch would have made me break. "When you're ready," he murmured. "The truth won't get any lighter, but carrying it alone won't make it easier either." My chest tightened painfully. Emotion rose, sharp and sudden, but I forced myself to swallow it. I wasn't ready. Not yet. A vibration in my pocket made me flinch. Her name lit up the screen. I stared at it until the letters blurred. My thumb hovered, trembling, before I finally answered. Her voice came through instantly, frantic and tear-soaked. "Please, please don't hang up. Just listen, okay?" I said nothing. "I didn't mean for you to see that," she cried. Of all the sentences she could have chosen, that was the one that sliced deepest. A hollow laugh escaped me, dark, humorless. "That's really what you want to lead with?" "I'm sorry," she whispered. But her voice wavered with the unmistakable guilt of someone who regretted being caught more than the act itself. It wasn't what it looked like. I let silence stretch, heavy and suffocating. Then what was it? She inhaled sharply, scrambling. It was just God. Can we talk in person? You leaving like that scared me. Leaving? I echoed. I didn't leave. I walked away before I did something we'd both regret. She sobbed again. I felt nothing. My grandfather watched me from the porch doorway, his eyes steady and full of a sadness I didn't know how to face. Please come home, she whispered. We can fix this. There is no we to fix. The line went quiet. I didn't hang up. Neither did she. But something in the silence between us fell apart completely. Her voice returned softer, defeated. You weren't supposed to know. The honesty in that sentence was worse than every lie she'd told. I pressed a trembling hand against my forehead, feeling the weight of everything collapse at once. How long? She didn't answer. How long? I asked again, this time the words harder, sharper. A beat of silence. Then a broken whisper. 6 months. I closed my eyes as the world tilted again. 6 months. Through our anniversary. Through the promises. Through the night she held me in her arms and told me I was the only person she trusted. 6 months of pretending. I finally hung up. I didn't remember walking, but somehow I found myself sitting on the porch steps, elbows on my knees, hands trembling uncontrollably. Grandpa lowered himself beside me with a soft grunt. You told her the truth, he said simply. I told her the part one could get out. He nodded as if that was enough, as if surviving the moment was victory enough for now. A long silence settled between us, broken only by distant birds and the hum of a passing motorcycle. You know, Grandpa began, voice rough. Your grandmother and we had our own rough years once. I looked at him, surprised. People think long marriages are perfect, he said, eyes on the yard. They're not. They're just two people choosing each other even when it's hard. But betrayal. He exhaled, the sound heavy. Betrayal breaks something choice can't always fix. I swallowed hard. What did you do? I faced it, he said. Slowly. Carefully. With honesty. Painful honesty. Did it work? He smiled faintly, but there was no joy in it. It worked because both of us wanted it to. But if even one person doesn't, then no amount of love or history will hold it together. Something inside me twisted painfully. She said she wants to fix it. And do you? He asked gently. My answer didn't come immediately. It rose slowly, honestly, painfully. I don't know. The truth of it was terrifying. Grandpa didn't push. He simply sat there beside me, silent and steady, offering the kind of presence that didn't demand anything. But deep inside, beneath the heartbreak and the anger and the hollow ache where love used to live, a new feeling was growing, sharp, unsettling, persistent. Something didn't add up. Her tone, her wording, her fear, and most of all, the reason she gave. It wasn't what it looked like. Yet she admitted 6 months. The contradiction gnawed at me like a thread pulling loose. Something else was hiding beneath the surface. Something she hadn't said yet. And for the first time since arriving, my pulse shifted. Not from grief, but from the beginnings of suspicion. There was more. I could feel it. And I wasn't sure I was prepared for the truth. The suspicion didn't leave me. It burrowed deeper the longer I sat there on the porch steps, the November wind slipping cold fingertips beneath my collar. Every detail of the morning replayed in loops. Her voice, the guilt, the fear, the admission. 6 months. 6 months of lies woven into our routines. 6 months of stolen time and borrowed affection. 6 months where I kept searching her eyes for something real, while she hid a second life behind them. But something about the way she spoke still clung to the edges of my mind like a shadow refusing to disperse. She wasn't afraid because I saw. She was afraid because being exposed ruined something else. Something bigger. My grandfather eventually rose from the steps, his joints popping softly as he stood. You take your time, he murmured. Tea will be inside when you're ready. I nodded, grateful for the space. Once he was gone, I pulled my phone back out. My fingers hovered over her name again, the ache in my chest dulling into something colder, sharper. She had sent 5 messages already. Please don't tell anyone. We can explain this together. I didn't want it to get this far. Just talk to me. Please, I'm begging you. The desperation in her words wasn't about losing me. That much I felt in my bones. It was about consequences. I wasn't sure what kind yet, but the dread had grown teeth. I stood and walked toward the side of the house, pacing slowly through fallen leaves while trying to piece things together. Confusion collided with anger, fear tangled with disbelief, and somewhere deep down, guilt clawed its way up too. I hated that part most. How could I feel guilty when I was the one betrayed? My phone vibrated again, this time from an unknown number. For a moment I considered ignoring it, but something in me, that small voice that had been whispering warnings for months, told me to pick up. Hello. Static cracked. Then a voice low, tense, unfamiliar, carrying a roughness that made every hair on my arm stand on end. You don't know me, he said. But I need to talk to you. It's about her. My heartbeat stuttered. Who is this? She blocked my number, he muttered. Figures. She's been spiraling since this morning. I knew she'd slip eventually. I just didn't think she'd let you see. My throat went dry. Slip? Slip what? He sighed hard, frustration heavy in the sound. Look, man. I'm not calling to comfort you, and I'm not here to cause drama. I'm calling because you deserve to know exactly what you're dealing with. A sickening heaviness formed in my stomach. What happened between you two? I asked, my voice tightening. That's the wrong question, he said. You should be asking who else. The cold in my veins turned to ice. What do you mean, who else? He hesitated for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was lower, almost reluctant. I wasn't the only guy. I figured that out about 3 months in. Air stopped leaving my lungs. You're lying. I wish I was. Another pause. It's not just cheating. She's been taking things, using people, messing with their lives. She gets close, takes what she wants, moves on. You're not her first. You won't be her last. But with you, his voice softened unexpectedly. She told me you were different. That's why I'm warning you, before she finds a way to twist this. My legs felt weak. I leaned against the wall of the house, the wood cool against my back. You're saying she what scams people? Not money, he muttered. Plans, access, connections, opportunities. Whatever gives her security for the next phase of her life. My mind spun. She used you, he continued. And me and the guy before me and probably someone after. She didn't cheat to fill a void. She cheated to build a fallback plan. I felt sick. Why are you telling me this? I whispered. His answer chilled me. Because she still needs something from you. My breath faltered. What? You're the only one who treated her like she mattered. You're the only one she actually cares for in her own warped way. Which makes you dangerous. If you expose her pattern, everything crumbles. A sharp pang hit my chest, not pain exactly. Betrayal wearing a new face. I closed my eyes. What does she think I can still give her? Stability, he said. A place to land when things go wrong. Maybe a financial safety net. Maybe just someone who won't leave. I almost laughed, a broken, humorless sound. She did leave. No, he said quietly. She didn't. She never intended to. She just wanted more than one life at the same time. My hand tightened around the phone. The idea of her living multiple emotional lives, switching between them, orchestrating stories, building facades, made my stomach churn violently. What should I do? The question slipped out before I could stop it, fragile and raw. That's up to you, he said. But if you want real closure, you need to ask her one thing. I swallowed. What? Ask her who she planned to leave first, you or me. A tremor ran through me. Good luck, he muttered softly. You're going to need it. The call ended. I stared at my reflection in the darkened phone screen, unrecognizable beneath the weight of everything I'd learned. The grandparents' wooden wind chime clinked softly overhead, each note delicate and haunting, as if the house itself sensed the storm building. Without really deciding, I began to walk. Not toward my grandparents' living room, not toward safety or comfort, but toward the truth. I dialed her number. She answered immediately, breath shaky, voice thick with tears. Please just let me explain. Come home. We can talk. We can work through this. Who was he? I asked. Silence. You know who I mean. The guy who just called me. She inhaled sharply. He's lying. I swear he's lying. Then tell me the truth, I pressed. How many? Her breathing hitched. Don't do this. How many? I repeated, the words trembling. A long, agonizing silence stretched between us. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely audible. 3. The world tilted again. I never meant for any of it to go this far, she cried. You were supposed to be the one I chose in the end. You just what? I whispered. Needed backups? No, she said sharply. I needed security. You don't understand. You had your career, your family, your future lined up. I didn't. And every time I thought about losing you, I panicked. I let out a bitter breath. So you cheated because you were afraid I'd leave? I cheated, she whispered, voice breaking, because I was afraid you wouldn't. The twisted logic sat like poison on my tongue. You used me, I said quietly. I loved you, she insisted. You don't do this to someone you love. I'm broken, she whispered helplessly. Isn't that enough of an explanation? Not anymore. A long silence hung in the air, trembling with the finality of something ending. Then, in a softer, smaller voice, she said the sentence that shattered something I hadn't realized was still intact. If you walk away, I won't survive this. Guilt punched through me, sudden and brutal. For a moment it suffocated everything else. Anger, betrayal, heartbreak. I hated myself for even hesitating. Her tears, her fragility, her trembling voice. They all stabbed at the part of me that once would have done anything to protect her. But then clarity cut through. This was what she always did. What she counted on. What she needed to keep people from leaving. I steadied my voice. I'm not responsible for saving you anymore. She sobbed loud, broken, desperate. Please don't do this. Please. I'll change. I'll do anything. I'll cut them off. I'll prove it. Just please don't leave me alone. I'm already gone, I whispered. Before she could respond, I ended the call. For the first time all day, the silence didn't hurt. Felt cleansing. Heavy, yes, but honest. Real. I walked back toward the house, the cold air filling my lungs with each inhale. My grandfather stood in the doorway again, watching me with the quiet understanding of someone who had seen heartbreak take many forms. You did what you needed to, he said gently. I nodded, tears finally gathering but not falling. I think I did. Good, he murmured. Now comes the harder part. What's that? Healing. I exhaled shakily. I don't know where to start. You start, he said, resting a steady hand on my shoulder, by not going back. My chest tightened, but this time it wasn't from pain. It was from a strange new feeling, small but growing. The feeling of choosing myself. A taxi passed by on the road, its headlights casting brief golden streaks across the porch. My grandfather raised an eyebrow at me. Think you'll need that BMW back anytime soon? For the first time all day, I almost smiled. No, I said quietly. I think I'm done driving toward people who only take. He nodded, satisfied. Behind him, the door creaked open, spilling warm light onto the porch. Inside waited tea, comfort, family. People who hadn't betrayed me. I stepped toward the light. My phone buzzed again in my pocket, but this time I didn't look. Some stories end with forgiveness. Others with revenge. Some with closure. Mine ended with letting go. And for the first time in 6 months, I felt the ground beneath me again, solid, steady, mine. Not hers. Mine. And I walked inside.